Yes, I was very familiar with The Last Kingdom. It was the best thing I'd seen on TV for many years. And yeah, it was my favourite show. And so I was absolutely delighted when my agent managed to get me a casting for the second season. And then I managed to land the part. And yeah, it was great. What do I most admire about Steapa? Um, well, I think the thing I most admire about Adrian Bouchet is his ability to stand behind the king for 10 hours at a time and say and do nothing. that took some that took some stamina, I can assure you. But Steapa, I think what I admire about him is that he's true and loyal, and he puts the king and the crown above his own personal feelings. I think he admires Uhtred greatly, and there was a certain degree of love there for a sort of a fellow warrior. And I think he would have liked to have had a bit of a tussle with him at one point after he's betrayed the king and snuck into the throne room with a knife, but he also knows that Uhtred is a very valuable ally and we do need him. So yes, he's his stoicism, I suppose. Well, I think this goes back to what I've just said. Great deal of admiration and comradely love for a fellow warrior in Uhtred. But after what Steapa sees as betrayal and the attempt on the king's life, or certainly drawing a knife on the king's throat, I think things change there for Steapa. Uhtred was still to be admired and still is needed, but that love and admiration now is probably just tempered with respect for a warrior that we need, and whatever friendship there was is still there, but it's gone off somewhat. Yeah. What has been the most challenging scene in the film so far, and how much of your own stunt work do you do? First I suppose I'd break that down into two. The stunts that's a separate thing. I'm quite a physical actor. I do quite a lot of physical stuff, and I like all that stuff. I'll get to that in a minute. Most challenging scene. I suppose this goes back to the two previous things which I've been talking about, where Uhtred talks his way into the throne room with the king and observes the protocol of taking his weapons off and handing them over to Steapa prior to going in there, as is the norm, but sneaks a knife in. Steapa doesn't frisk him and doesn't give him a body search as such, because he trusts him. He's Uhtred, he's a friend, he's an ally. But Uhtred uses that trust and abuses it and sneaks a knife in and holds the king's life in danger. Steapa sees that as a betrayal of his trust and as a failure in his duties to protect the king. So, very shortly after that scene, along comes Heston to parley with the king. Heston, the most untrustworthy of all people and the leader of our enemies. He comes to parley with the king. He hands his weapons over again in exactly the same manner as Uhtred's done. But obviously Steapa is not going to allow the same thing to happen again. This time, because his job is at stake, presumably his life as well, he's going to make damn sure that the leader of his enemies and the most distrusted person in the world is going to be frisked. And when I saw this in the script, that Steapa was not making an effort to make greater efforts to ensure the king's safety by asking him to be frisked or to be searched, I brought that up with the script people and director and producer, and I was just told that wasn't going to happen. So that was a very difficult scene for me to do, to just stand there and essentially allow the same thing to happen again, or potentially allow the same thing to happen again. It made Steapa, or it made me feel as though Steapa was just being stupid again, and Steapa's not stupid. So that was a difficult scene, not to have an additional level of security leveled at Heston when he came to the king. So yeah, that was my difficult scene. In terms of stunts, we obviously have stunt people. I have a stunt double, and we're not allowed to do anything particularly dangerous. I was even prevented from kicking a door in because of insurance reasons. Although I wouldn't actually kicked it in; it was just resting my foot on the door. So no, we don't get up to anything too physical. We're just not allowed to. I obviously saw the first season and absolutely loved it. Steapa was obviously absent from the first season. So I was keen to find out who he was and what part he played. And I thought I would do this by sort of cheating and getting one of those audio books. So I got the first couple of books on audiobook and tried to listen to them. But to be honest with you, I found them so dull. So I actually bought the books and read them, and I found it much more interesting, much more riveting, and a very, very easy read to read the books themselves. I love them, and he writes great adventure stuff, Bernard Cornwell. I was very lucky to meet the chap about a year or so ago. Steapa is around in the books and for quite a long time. However, I should say that I don't think it's any secret that we are now departing from the books to a greater rather than lesser extent. So I'm not sure whether the fates in the books will bear any semblance to what happens in season 4 at least. But I've certainly read all the books up to book 8. So that would that covers the first 4 seasons. And I think a lot of the other cast have as well. We're all quite keen to know what happens. God, I'm trying to find a way of not saying myself. Certainly when I came onto the show, I was the one that was probably the most experienced in this sort of line of work. I've done a lot of sword work and combat, sort of medieval combat, early medieval combat. I qualified in 2 different fighting systems, and I'd had a lot of experience. So yeah, it was probably me. Jeppe, who plays Heston, is also very good. He was a stuntman before he was became an actor, and so obviously that speaks for itself. So he's very good. Obviously Alex, who plays our hero, does a lot of work, and obviously he's become quite experienced in it now as well. But prior to coming on the show, I'm not sure if he'd really done any at all. I know there's a lot of fans out there that wanted to see a lot more of Steapa fighting. I know that's how he is represented in the books, and I can only apologise that I haven't done more of that. I can assure you it's not because I didn't want to. I'm champing at the bit to do more. It's just they want other people to do the fighting, I guess. It seems that whenever there's a battle, literally everybody else gets to fight. Warriors, kings, queens, nuns, women, monks, baby monks, literally everybody else fights. and Steapa is the first one to depart from our screens. And I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry for myself, and I'm sorry on behalf of the fans that wanted to see that. However, we are on season 4, and there may be a change. So watch this space. Yes, I love the fighting aspect of it. I've missed it, and yeah, I'm pretty good at it. The other question I think was about horses, and what was it? Does anyone have trouble managing their horse? Well, we're all given riding assessments prior to going on the show. Some of us could ride before the show, and some of us were kind of novices or complete beginners, I suppose. The fact is that because of insurance, we have stunt people to do anything that's really above a trot. We're not even really allowed to canter them. So all the cantering and galloping is done by our stunt doubles. The trotting and the walking is fine. Can I ride? Yes, I can ride. I wouldn't say I was a great rider, but I can ride. I remember Harry in seasons 2 and 3 wanting to ride his horse a bit more and demonstrate that he could. And Leventi, our stunt coordinator and sort of head of safety, kept saying, "But Harry, you cannot ride." But he said, "But Leventi, I can ride." And Harry did pretty well, the riding that I saw. He seemed all right. Mark, who plays Finnan, is not a natural rider, I would say. He looks about as natural on his horse as a dog riding a bicycle, but they do manage to cut round that quite well, and he puts on this very earnest face when he's on his horse, which kind of sells it. I'm only joking, Mark. I'm only joking, but no, he's some are more natural than others. Let's put it that way. Hilt is a very good rider, and obviously Alex is also a good rider. But yes, it's a spectrum of abilities. Let's say that. Yes, losing King Alfred, losing David Dawson last year is obviously it's a massive blow to the show. David was a titan in the show, and the significance of losing Alfred is huge. The significance of losing an acting talent like that is huge as well. And so yes, there will be a fresh start, a new kingdom. I can't really give away any spoilers as to what's going to happen. I think the only thing we can say with certainty is a line that Tura used back in season 3, and is that death is coming. That's the only thing that is certain in the Last Kingdom. Death is coming. When or where is to be determined. But yes, I would say that's the only certainty of the Last Kingdom. Well, to be honest with you, it's just a massive privilege to work with anybody in that cast. The casting director, Kelly, has just done a fantastic job on all the seasons. Just to be in the show is a great privilege. There's some great names that have appeared in this show, and it's just, as I said, a privilege to even be in it. So to act again with anybody in the show at any other time would be great, because everyone's so good and you're in safe hands. They're all fantastic actors, and I hope you think so too. Yes, after this season finishes, I have another project to go on to. I literally cannot say a word about it. It's a very big project, and I cannot even tell my agent what it is, or any of my family. It's a very big day. So that's what I'll be doing when I finish this. I've got so many shows to catch up on. I just haven't had time. Working on a show like The Last Kingdom, it's 6 or 7 months of your year. If you're not working, then you're traveling backwards and forwards to work, or you're learning lines, or you're training. So you don't get a lot of chance. Well, I don't get a lot of chance to watch other stuff. I've got so many things to catch up on, but I'm not currently watching anything else.